Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video I'll be showing you how to cut a bustier with yoke. Here I have my lining folded into two using the bust measurement I'm working with divided by 4 plus extra 5 inches of allowance, then the shoulder to half length plus 1 inch of allowance. So first off, I'm marking the shoulder measurement divided by 2. I'm working with 14 inches for the shoulder divided by 2, that is 7. So I mark the same thing down and then I connect into a straight line. Then I mark the armhole I'm working with, which is 8 inches, and then I squared it out. So here I'm marking 3 inches in, and then on the armhole line I came down by half inch, and then I'm going to connect to that 3 inches point in a slant to form the shoulder slope. So next off, I'm marking the shoulder to nipple I'm working with, and then the shoulder to the under bust, like so. I'm marking the same thing here, shoulder to nipple, shoulder to under bust, and then I am going to connect into a straight line. So next I'm marking the nipple to nipple I'm working with, which is 8 divided by 2, which is 4 plus half inch of allowance, making it 4.5. So I marked that and I connected into a straight line. Next off, on that line, that nipple to nipple line, I am marking 1.5 inches outward, like so, from the under bust down. I connected that, and then I'm going to make a curve like so to the nipple point. So next off, I am marking 5 inches, which is going to be the length of the yoke, and I'm going to connect that into a straight line. Then on that 5 inches line, I'm marking the nipple to nipple again, divided by 2 plus half inch of allowance, and then I connected it to the down part. Then I marked 1 inch to that side and 1 inch to the inside, and then I'm connecting to the nipple point, as you can see. On this down part, I'm going to mark half inch inwards, and then I'll connect to the nipple point as well. Next off, on that 5 inches point, that yoke length, I came down by 2 inches, and I'm going to curve it out like so. That is going to form the yoke, the remaining part of the yoke. So I'm curving the armhole. Next off, I'm marking the neck. I'm marking 4 inches wide and 4 inches deep. So I'm going to square it out and then curve the neckline. So next off, I'm going to connect that yoke line, that 5 inches line, all the way to the end, as we are not going to be cutting the armhole for the front piece until after we finish joining them together. So I'm cutting the neckline, and I've cut the shoulder slant. Then I'm cutting out the yoke. From that 2 inches I came down by, as you can see. So this is the yoke piece. Next up, I'll be cutting the remaining parts of the front piece. And that is it for the front piece for now. Remember, I said we're not cutting out the armhole until we've joined the front pieces together. So this is it, the center piece, the side pieces, and then the yoke. Then for the back, I have my lining piece again, folded into two, using the same bust measurement divided by 4 plus 5 inches of allowance, and then the shoulder to half length plus 1 inch of allowance. So for the back, I'm starting with the zipper allowance. I'm marking 1.5 inches all the way down. I will connect that into a straight line. The next step, starting from that 1.5 inches line, I'm going to mark the shoulder I'm working with divided by 2, which is 7. And then I will mark the armhole I'm working with, which is 8. I'm going to connect that into a straight line. And then I measured quarter of the bust measurement I'm working with. And then I curve the armhole from there. Next up, on that zip line, I came in by 3 inches. And then on the armhole line, I came down by ½ inch. And then I'm connecting to form the shoulder slant for the back. Next up, I'm marking the neckline. From the zipper line, I went in by 4 inches, and then I'm marking 2 inches for the neck dip. So the back neckline is 4 inches wide and then 2 inches deep, which I later changed. But then I'm marking the back yoke length, which is also 5 inches. Then I'm going to connect that straight, like so. So I'm covering the neckline. And then on this down part, I'm going to mark the dart point, which is 4.5 inches starting from the zip line. And I'm going to notch that for later. So this part here is the yoke, but I'm going to increase the neckline. So what I did was mark 4 inches, which is the neck width, to the point, at that point where the yoke line is, and then I'm going to curve it out again. So now we have a deeper neckline at the back. You can use the 2 inches for your neckline, or you can use this 5 inches, whichever one you want. I went with the 5 inches. And now I am cutting. I'm going to cut the neckline. And that is the back yoke. Next up, I'm going to open the zipper part into 2. So this is it for the back piece. This is the back and this is the yoke. So what you do is go ahead and cut the front pieces on your main fabric, and then the back piece the same thing. Then for the yoke, I'm going to use this fabric to demonstrate. For the yoke now, you're going to fold whatever you're using for the yoke. I'm using lace. You can be working with soft net, you can be working with a plain fabric, whatever it is. You fold it into 2 and then place your front yoke on it. Here's my front yoke, so I'm placing it on the fabric like so, making sure the folded side of the yoke is on the folded side of the lace. So after that, I am pinning it down, using my pins to hold everything, to hold the lace and the lining, the yoke piece together. So next, on this down part, I'm going to add ½ inch all around. going to add ½ inch of allowance there, and then for the rest of the sides we're going to cut them exactly the same. The same for the neckline too, we're going to cut it exactly the same. The ½ inch is only on the part that is going to be joined to the rest of the bustier. So for the back yoke again, a fabric is folded into two, but the back does not have any folded edge, so you just place it. This side that has a curve is the neckline, and then the part that is straight is the one that will connect to the armhole side. So I'm going to place it like so, pin it again just like we did with the front yoke. The next step on this down part, the part that will join to the back piece, we're going to add ½ inch again all the way around, and then the rest of the sides we're going to cut it the same as the yoke piece. So next up, to cut the breast part for the bustier, we are going to place the center piece, that is the under bust line on the center piece. We're going to place it on the edge of the part like so. Then I'll place my tape. The under bust I'm working with is 13, so I'll place 13 inches on my tape on that under bust line, and then locate 7 inches upwards and then make a mark on both sides. I'm going to trace the sides of the center piece like so. Then I will connect the upper part, then I'll cut out. So that's it for the center. This is how we're going to place it. The part with the shiny glue particles is going to be facing the wrong side. Then for the side pieces too, we're going to place the under bust point like so. This is quite obvious, so just place it there. Then I'm going to place my tape 13 inches, which is my under bust line, on that under bust, and then locate 8 inches upwards this time around. Remember, for the center piece I said 7, but for the side pieces you use 8 inches. Then at this point you mark the nipple to nipple you're working with divided by 2 plus the ½ inch is 4.5 for me, so I marked it, and then I make a curve to join both ends like so. So I'm cutting it out. I'm going to place this on top of the pad and cut the second piece for the other side front piece. So place it such that if it's the smooth side that is up, the smooth side should be facing each other. If you're using the shiny side, the both shiny sides should be facing each other. That's the only way you have a mirror image of both of them. So next off, I will use a medium weight gum steel to cut out each of these pieces again, which we are going to iron on the lining. So the breast part is going to be ironed on the main fabric, yes, and then these gum steel pieces will be ironed on the lining pieces. You're going to see in a minute. So these are the main fabric pieces. So we're placing the breast part on it like so. We use an iron to iron it down. I have a video on how to pad the princess that bustier. It's the same process. I will link the video down below. Then the front piece too, the same thing. Then for these are the lining pieces, we're going to be using the breast part, the gum steel rather, to iron on the lining pieces. So bonus tip, if you don't want to use the bias strip to finish the neckline of your yoke, you can actually cut two. If you're using a net, you cut two. I'm using lace in this case, so I cut two. I place them right sides together and turn the neck the same way you would if you were using, if it were lining to main fabric. So I cut two pieces and then I will pin them together like this. Then go sew that way, turn it out and iron it. Then join it to the bustier part of the, yeah. The same thing for the back, you place right sides together and then join the neckline using about half of an inch. You turn it out and your neckline is smooth and clean. That is all for this video, you guys. I will see you in my next one. Please like, share, comment and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you again for watching and bye.